I represent from midnight to high noon.
What's up, everybody? It's Tim Heinen's Vinyl back again for another video, and it is towards the end of February, which means it's the perfect time for the vinyl tag. You know what? Honestly, if I'm being truthful, any time is a good time for the vinyl tag. It's just a great way to answer a few questions, get your feet wet if you're stuck on content to make. If you're new to making content, if you're old to making content, if you make content regularly, it's just something to do. It gives you a fun look inward, but also shares some details maybe you wouldn't have always shared. So let's jump right in, shall we? So my best find last year, I shared it. I pretty much called it when it happened. I'm going to try to cover up the naughty bits as much as possible, but getting my hands on my first band, Hendrix cover of Electric Ladyland, definitely took the cake. Not much more I can say about this. Hendrix is where I go to first in the record store. Well, usually second. I look at new arrivals, and then I'll look at Hendrix. You never know what I'll find, and that one was a steal, and glad to have it. Best live performance. I didn't go to any shows this year. Just wasn't in the cards for me, which is fine. But something that kind of picked up, at least online, was DJ streaming. DJs like Jazzy Jeff, Scratch Bastard, Z Trip, D Nice, a slew of them during the pandemic would stream sets, and I'd always think, a good DJ is a great selector first, and they can pull some things and recognize and love, and blend it with the stuff you've never heard of, and just take you on this musical journey. And that still has continued for some of these DJs. A lot of us are Gen Z or Gen X. Excuse me, I'm Gen X, firmly in the Gen X. The idea of going to a club doesn't really do it for me. But hearing these great DJs spin week after week, you can turn into a live set. That's been my highlight. So that's what I've enjoyed. So I guess for us, picking, your favorites, that's kind of like, that can change at any time, right? But I would safe to say that my favorite male singer of all time would be John Anderson from Yes. I can listen to Yes all day. I have listened to Yes all day on numerous occasions. My favorite female singer, Miss Aretha Franklin. This one was actually a little bit harder for me. I could have said, it could have been any number of singers. Nina Simone comes to mind. Ann Wilson from Heart. More recent, Jill Scott. Any number of them. But time and time again, I would probably say Miss Aretha Franklin. So once you move, you get settled or whatever. The thing I'm probably going to grab first is Tribe. This album is special to me. This group is special to me. It's a sonically pleasing pressing. So, make sure everything's set up well. I know every word. It keeps me motivated. It's a great introduction to who I am, where I come from, and music that is going to touch my soul, because a lot of the things that I love, I learned through the samples here, or I was already familiar with them. This is what I'm going to grab. Probably right after Jimmy, but this would probably be A1 playing some Tribe. 10 years from now, much to the chagrin of probably everybody around me, it's going to grow. Music is my soul food. I love the discovery. I love the finding. It's not going to stop. It is what it is. I'm going to keep buying it probably until I'm no longer here. But 10 years, absolutely. Three records that, I could have pulled any slew of ones here, but three that guarantee to get you up and dancing, at least for me. The JBs, obviously the backing band for James Brown. Uh, Anything from the JBs is going to be absolutely phenomenal. Bill Withers, uh, great grooves, very sing along, very dance along. This is a must have in a lot of collections. And it wouldn't be me if I didn't show some go go. So, this is a great comp for those who might be interested in learning a little bit more about go go. Go Go wasn't a commercial success across the country, but it really did capture the sound of what was going on in DC on a regular basis. So this has got some greats on it from the DC metro area. This was actually a little bit more mass produced, but this is a great comp if you're interested to learn a little bit more about Go Go and some of the principal character players in the sound. All right. So when this song came out, it was a commercial success. I mean, I can't deny it. I can't deny the reason why it was recorded, the artist's choice. But the album in question is bad. I don't know. Why is my Zoom doing this? I'm not a big fan. Thank you. I'm going to take this off of auto Zoom. But with this one, fantastic album. Second album from LL. Very commercial. He was the first real person to be considered like a hip hop marketable icon. But the song "I Need Love," no. I'm okay with love songs and not no. No, it never sat well with me. I never liked it. If this was CD, I would skip it. No, I don't like the song "I Need Love," and I would have been fine if that was a single only release and not on this album. So again, with favorite singers, this is all going to change depending on the mood. I'll go by what mood I'm currently in. So 60s, Axis Bold as Love. I think this is pretty much going to stay a staple. That one doesn't tend to deviate. My mood could probably let Electric Ladyland slip in. The 70s was a hard one for me, but currently I will say one of my favorite double albums of all time and just a perfect album for Mr. Stevie Wonder, Songs in the Key of Life. 80s, if not my favorite hip hop album of all time, it would definitely be number 2. And that's Public Enemy's It Takes a Nation of Millions to Hold Us Back. This album is very important to me. This group is also very important to me, and I absolutely love it. 90s, obviously I was very much heavy into the hip hop swing. And to me, I could have gone Biggie. I could have gone a number of ways, but to me, this screams 90s. And I've been on a huge Wu-Tang kick recently. So End of the 36 Chambers gets the nod. The 2000s, I would have probably considered Steven Wilson, the song, The Raven Who Refuses to Sing. I know my friend Bill showed that. But I've also been on a recent Madlib kick, and this album is one of those ones that even if you only dabble in hip hop, you really should check out. The production, the lyrics, the lyricism, the creativity. It's so out of this world stratospheric, but it's also not your standard hip hop affair. To me, this is one of those ones, like if I had to come up with 200 albums or something like that you should listen to before you die, this would definitely be in it, and it would be high. This is an incredible album, as well as this one. Damn. Kendrick Lamar's masterpiece, in my opinion. This to me is just absolute. It's worthy of every bit of praise. It's worthy of everyone checking out, listening to. It's just absolutely incredible. So that's the 6th that I pick. So I can't show 3 albums from this artist because I don't own any. And you may find that as kind of a surprise, especially considering I listen to all different types of music. And it's not that I've tried, but I haven't tried in a while. And I know I'm going to get roasted for this, and that's okay. But what I'm hoping is that somebody will tell me where they think I should start. And that's Frank Zappa. I've tried. I've Now I get it. Some Frank Zappa isn't for everybody, and that's understood. I will admit it's been a long time since I've tried with some of his more accessible entry points, like Hot Rats and things like that. And maybe that's where I should start. But Frank Zappa for me was always one of those that was like, not yet. And I felt that same way about Bob Dylan until I'd say about 10 years ago. And then it was like, I get it. And I won't say I'm a huge Bob Dylan fanatic, but I do enjoy some albums from Bob Dylan. And I know that if I find the right time and the right mind frame and the right album or albums to listen to from Zappa, I'm sure there would be a connection. It just hasn't yet. So I like a song or two here or there, but after a while it's just like, this is crazy. So where should I start with Frank Zappa? So the song Nature's Way on Spirits, the 12 Dreams of Dr. Sarconius. It's a very personal song for me. This was an album that I was turned on to by, I've mentioned, my uncle and my aunt for numerous times on this channel. My uncle Jack turned me on to Spirit and had this out, had a couple Spirit albums, but had this one and really loved the song Nature's Way. And unfortunately, he passed at a very young age, and it was played at his service. And I have a lot of emotion tied to that song. It took me actually a lot of years to even listen to the song before I went into a full-on hysteric sobbing attack. But even now, when I listen to it, it just hits. Especially when you couple that with the tragic story of Randy California losing his life trying to save his son. So the meaning behind that song is just so personal for me. But it's also just a beautiful song, and I think it encapsulates a lot of pain that can be shared in the world. So, Nature's Way. So these two will do together. If you had the ability to spend the day with an artist at the beach, dinner, lunch, whatever it is, and I kind of took it a little literal, like, right now, like, who would that be? And probably the person I would want to spend the day most with would be DJ Shadow. I've talked about him ad nauseum on this channel. Everyone knows that I'm a huge DJ Shadow fan. He respects music of all genres and does some incredible things with it. And I just think just getting to know some of the choices he made production wise, or maybe learning about some of the samples that he couldn't do anything with because it couldn't get licensed or whatever the case may be, record shopping, working with particular artists who I also admire. I think those stories would just be genuine. But there was also a follow-up question, which was, what would be a question you would feel you would have to ask? And being as that DJ Shadow approaches production very much with a keen sense of musicianship, it's got to be not just the tempo and blend, but the keys need to match and, complement each other and things like that. I would want to focus more on the sonics and the productions of those albums that inspired him over the years. So I would probably ask him something to that, like, what are the 5 albums sonically? Not necessarily because they had a great beat or because of the music, But production-wise, production from the board, the mixing from the tape to the final product, just aesthetically, sound-wise, what were some of those albums that might have stood out as above the marks and sonically you wanted to strive for? So I think that'd be something a little bit more interesting and a little bit of a different take on just what inspired you. We clearly see that. So that'd be my answer. So number 13, it changed up a little. I honestly don't remember what the question was, and that's okay. But I had replaced it with an album or a couple albums that you're dying to find, and I'm all for the generous spirits of the vinyl deities, the vinyl gods, whatever you want. Sometimes they provide, like at the Hendrix stuff. A band just reissued their entire catalog this month, and I was able to pick them up, and they were actually a big want for me. So I'm putting it out there. So I'll show a couple photos here. One, probably at my top, and it's not that it's expensive. I just never see it. It's the debut album from Kitchens of Distinction. Or at least it's the one I know. So I'm familiar with Kitchens of Distinction from this album. There was a song back when I lived in Maryland, and I've talked about listening to WHFS. They played in a decent rotation, and it was called Drive That Fast. I think there might have even been a video for it. And when I first heard it, I thought it was just fantastic. This crescendo of emotion and feeling that was building and building and building. And it really just sonically took me someplace that I really enjoyed. And I remember having a tape and loved it. And I've streamed the album, but I can't find it. It did get a U.S. press. It's gotten all kinds of press. I think it was even reissued recently. You just can't find it. I can order it from far away, but with shipping rates, and we don't even know what tariff is. We're not going down that road. It's just not feasible, and I'm fearful of it. Another one, and I have the CD of this one. I should have pulled it, but I didn't. Is the debut album from a rap group, the Fushnikins. Now, the Fushnikins were Mokpoo, Pokfu, and Chip Fu. So they were kind of like, originally the Fushnikins was the two and a DJ, and then Chip Fu kind of joined, and that was kind of like the secret sauce. That's what got him noticed by Jive RCA. That's what got him signed. They ended up doing 2 albums with Jive. Jive wanted to focus more on Chip Fu, who I will admit was the better MC of the 3. But to Chip Fu's credit, he just said, no, we're a group. It's all of us or none of us. And unfortunately, sometimes that loyalty can backfire, and the rest kind of went into obscurity. The masses might know the song "Ring the Alarm," which was a popular hit for the Fushnikins. They were also the group that was featured with Shaquille O'Neal on his album "I'm Outstanding." I know Shaquille O'Neal releasing an album, and a couple of songs. The one with Fushnikins was fantastic. Chip Fu was really the lyrical highlight. He heralding from the West Indies. He had a very unique style, a very unique accent. He could, like, if you think about the DOS effects, the diggity style or whatever, he could do that. He could do it very fast and clean. Just a force to be reckoned with. And he's actually popped up on some recent stuff again. So I'm hoping that means maybe we'll see more Fushnikins or Chip Fu in the future. But the Fushnikins, by far, I'd love to get both their albums on wax. But FU, don't take it, don't take it personal. is a must-have for me. I love that album top to bottom. So those are two that I would love to be able to say I can add to my collection this year. So I can honestly answer this honestly, and I can say that, if I was in a position where if I had to, no, it all goes. I'd like to say that if I had to, but I could keep the Jimmy stuff, I would keep Jimmy, and I would probably piece out, what I sold of Jimmy last, and hold on to that for as long as I can. But no, if it had to go, it has to go. That's just the end of it. It's material, but it is material things that bring me a lot of joy and a lot of pleasure. But no, if it was a situation where, it had to, no, it goes. So for me this year, was about kind of rediscovering my interest in the VC and making videos again. And I've always enjoyed it. Sometimes it's mostly about time, or the internal passion to do it. The want is there, but is the desire to get off the couch and set up everything, is that there? Sorry, sure my mic was on. But this year, I'm lucky to say that I feel like I found that, and I'm starting to find a little bit better rhythm with it all. And my highlight for me was definitely the Vinyl Bunch meeting Jen and Tobias and my good friend Paul, Baraka P Dub, and creating that space where we can sit down, we can have a great conversation on the topic of music, and the time just flies by for us. Now, our second one was absolutely way longer than we all had hoped, and we need to work on that, But at the end of the day, that's time that I cherish because I was able to sit down and spend time with them and enjoy not just their company, but their camaraderie and the sharing of music. It really meant the world to me. And I'm looking forward to the next one where we're not done, So be on the lookout for that. Hopefully in the weeks to come. Let's see, if I was on death row, can we put Inagata DeVito on an infinite loop? No, no kidding. You know what? If I was going, not much I can do about it, right? It's going to happen. Let's give everybody a treat. The original pressing of the 45, They're Coming to Take Me Away, haha, is pressed backwards. Play that some bitch loud. You gonna remember me. That's just how I feel. I have no good answer to this. Look, I can do three. I can do jazz in two reasons, but I will do three. Reason one, Coltrane. Reason two, Davis. You need to understand that the magic that was captured in a lot of these sessions was literally that. It was magic. It was come down, we have a motif, we have this passage, and we're going to play with it, and we're going to record it, and that's going to be that, and that's going to be the album. And to surround yourself with people who are talented enough to do that and create something so beautiful, so moving, so spontaneous in the moment, and two of the best to ever do it. Reason one and reason two. My third reason of why jazz is that it's mainly instrumental, and sometimes we need instrumental music. Sometimes the words won't match the mood. If you hear something and there's words to it, those words will always be associated with that mood. With jazz, with a lot of other instrumental music, you get to create the emotion you attach to that, and it can change. One time you could experience utter joy listening to that music, and the other times it can bring you down and really just cause a release of emotions you didn't know you had pent up. It can cause anger. It can cause, you can hear these elements that you've never heard before. And yeah, some of it is the frame of mind, but if it's a happy, sunshiny song and you're in a bad mood, it ain't going to change. I mean, that song may elevate you, but you can't change the tone of that song. It is what it is. So I love the fact that we have such incredible lyrics to some of our favorite songs of all time. But it's important to have something that you, the listener, can interpret maybe even differently, all on your own. There are some albums I will feel the same way I put them on, and there are some albums that when I sit down and I intently listen to it, and I may hear something different, and it may change. And I want that experience. And one of the things that gives me that experience is some of these incredible jazz records. And I think it's important to have something like that that is personal when you need that, when you need that release, that check of your emotions, or the explorer of your inner thoughts and your mind and your soul, just harmonizing to release whatever it is that's pent up in you. Music can guide you there. And without lyrics, true instrumentation, you get to feel something you sometimes can't describe. You know, biopics to me always take a little bit more of a liberty. They're fun, but there's also, the true human story isn't always a Hollywood story. So you got to punch it up a little bit. And when I'm learning or watching about an artist, it's the truth. That matters the most to me. So I am more of a documentary kind of guy than I am the biopic person. I will watch them, may even like a few, but I would prefer, you say, hey, here's these three biopics or here's these three documentaries. I'm going to watch the documentaries because the documentaries have at least been a little bit more researched. It's not about the sensationalism of the medium. It's about putting the true story out. Well, we would hope is the true story. So I'm more of a documentary guy. But with that said, the Beatles stuff on Apple, on Disney Plus is great. I'm a huge fan of the documentary Scratch, where it talks about kind of the birth of scratching in hip hop and then ultimately turntablism. I love concert videos or videos about bands. Like I watched the King Crimson one that just came out not too long ago, and I absolutely love that. And I applaud them because it didn't always paint Robert Fripp in the best of lights, but it was still true to what was going on. So I enjoyed that one very much. So that's where I would land on a biopic. Listen, at this point, if you don't know Jimi Hendrix, what are you doing? So, in the short time that Jimmy's star burned, it illuminated not just our worlds, but the entire universe. Jimmy played with a kind of a spirit and a speed and a passion that I think, looking back, we all knew he wasn't destined to be here as long. We were hoping it was longer, but he approached what he did with no boundary. He didn't lock himself into any type of box or circumference of a wall or anything. The way he approached music, he loved music, blues, the rock, the soul. He loved it all, and you can hear those elements in everything he did. He really forced the world to understand that the guitar was more than an instrument of strumming and chords and leads. He what Miles Davis was to the trumpet and Coltrane was to the saxophone, Jimmy was to the guitar. He found ways to get things out of that instrument that we will never see again. So if you're not familiar with Jimi Hendrix, you should be. You're not saying you will necessarily fall in love with him or like him to the level that some other people do. But you have to, if you are interested in anything guitar, you eventually need to focus in on those who shaped it and who changed it. And from the time Jimmy stepped on stage, the guitar world changed. We wouldn't have the guitar virtuosos playing the way they are now or the way they played over the last 40, 50 years if it wasn't for the way Jimmy kicked open the door. So I do recommend that you can pick up any one of his 3 albums, you comp, whatever. But if you don't know Jimmy, if you don't have something of Jimmy in your collection, high time you do. The beauty of living in Florida is that people want to come to Florida. Why? I have no idea. It's always hot. It's crowded. Our theme parks, if you're going to the theme park for the day, hope you like lines. But let's face it, people come to Florida. That said, if I were planning something and I could get people here, I would love it. I've been fortunate enough to meet some wonderful people in the VC. I missed out on meeting Steve Carlson when he was here, but I've met some incredible people from the VC, and would love to have, like Jen and Tobias from the Vinyl Bunch, Jeff Kempen, who doesn't do videos as much anymore. I wish he would. I miss you, big guy. Emma at Avon Low, dear friend, as well as John at Digital Gramophone. Speaking of the Carolinas, you've got Dave, the VC ambassador, now back to local bandography. And then you've got Eric Weinbender, who doesn't make videos anymore, but we interact a lot on Instagram, so I know he's doing well. Mazzy is like who wouldn't want to meet Mazzy, right? There's just so many people that I feel like it's almost like, why haven't we had this big thing? And we know enough powerful people. Let's put together a record show and we all go and maybe have this convention or something. It's important to say that we're all doing whatever it is we're doing, but the connections really is what stands out. So that's it. I got through this relatively painless. What you didn't see is take 1 when the mic just quit and charged, so I had to come back another day. And just as I was getting ready to do this, I spilled a cup of coffee all over the place after I had already cleaned everything up and mopped the floors and stuff. So to say this was a labor of love is the short point. I do have more planned, and it's not just centered around me picking up stuff, although that's probably going to be my next couple of videos. But I do have some other things I'd like to do, and I'm trying to find the time to record. Doesn't always work that way, so when I have the opportunity, I'm going to take it. So if that means I'm not as, if I'm consistent, then I back off, and consistent, then I back off. It's not that I've lost my passion, it's just the time. So thanks for watching. Hopefully everybody enjoyed it. Comment below, yell at me. I don't care. Just interact with me. Say hi, and that's all I need. Anyway, love you all. Thanks for watching. Peace.